Greetings, sailors, and good news! As you may have guessed from the fact that the intro is back, yes, it means I've got everything hooked up again inside my PC. I've still got a bunch of files to transfer, and of course there are various things to reinstall, not least parts of my Steam library, things like CK2 if nothing else. But by and large, I am back to where I need to be in terms of a functional PC. Now that actually is what I spent quite a big part of today doing, was tinkering around inside my computer case, and it didn't help, or I didn't help myself, that I put the hard drives in the enclosure the wrong way round, then had to do it all over again. So maybe I should have checked beforehand. But anyway, this is one from this is a fairly recent game. In fact, I have been playing a lot over the weekend since I got Warships installed, because it was one of the few things I could play. Well, it was this or World of Tanks, and I didn't much fancy playing World of Tanks at the weekend. So instead of going with one of the older replays, because all my older clients are still on the external drive that I was using as a kind of temporary measure, I've gone with this more recent one instead. Now this is of course the Błyskawica, the Polish Tier 7 premium destroyer, and this game was not my finest moment. Well, it kind of was and it wasn't. There's some good stuff in this replay, but my tactical awareness, my positioning on the map was not one of those things. Now as you can see, the situation is our team is massively outnumbered in the northeast area of the map. And with me down here are 4 other members of our team. So it's 5 out of 12 players. In fact, 5 out of 10 players are down in this corner. And so the enemy team is just ruffle stomping our few remaining ships up in the north. In fact, I think it's just a Gnevny platoon and the carrier at this point. So I was kind of like, I was in this annoying position where I was like, I want to go up there. I know I'm in the wrong place, but this Minikaze was sailing around. The Haruna, the Fuso, the Myoko were all trying to chase this guy. So I thought, you know, I've actually got to try and intercept him so that these battleships and these cruisers that are down here with me will actually turn around and go back to the cap. And I kind of feel like that area up in the north is where I should have been to begin with, and I was kind of dithering, and by the time we got down here I found that there was only 1 cruiser and 1 destroyer. These other ships had come down as well, and so I was out of position, they're all out of position, and we're now in serious trouble. So skipping on ahead again, I don't think there's any more cuts from this point. We're down to less than 10 minutes now. This is the second half of the battle. Now as you can see, we are outnumbered, but not by that much. We have taken out some of the enemy ships, and hopefully we're going to take out some more very soon. That Molotov is actually pretty low health. Now the enemy platoon, or division I should say, of I think it was 2 Molotovs and Kamikaze or Minikaze, something like that. I actually knew one of them-ish because I'd kept bumping into him the day before. A guy called nope, it's gone, but it's the surviving guy. It's the Minikaze, or the Kamikaze, or whichever one it is. And the fact that somebody's capping tells me that, yes, he is in fact in the cap circle. So the Fuso's come back, the Myoko's come back, but our Haruna is going towards their cap. And he's probably not going to do very well there on his own. He really should have come with us. But at this point, I mean, I knew this was probably a losing fight, that we probably weren't going to be able to pull this back, but I was damned if I wasn't going to try. So there's a couple of torpedoes. I mean, I know I'm going to be seen by him well before I can see him in return, because Lanatus, there we go, the name's just come to me. It's L Lanatus something, but yeah, anyway, Lanatus in his sneaky little tier 5 Japanese destroyer has got way better concealment than this. The Błyskawica can stealth torpedo, but you've only got... I don't have the 5th point captain skill, so I've only got about half a kilometre's grace before I get spotted with the torpedoes. Whereas, of course, the Minikaze, it's more like a full kilometre, if not more, if you've got a skilled captain in it. So Lanatus has backed off the cap. This Congo has hove into view, so I'm going to start peppering him with HE shells. And, oh, more torpedoes, but that's fine. It's actually, like, unless you're really quite close, it's difficult to actually get destroyed with torpedoes like that. You might notice there also a strange little artifact of the current version of World of Warships. The replays show dead ships as sitting on the surface. Those aren't actual, like, those are all dead ships. They're all dead players, and I don't know why the replay's doing this. It's a quirk of the most recent version that hasn't been in any of the other versions. There we go, it's a kamikaze. So there's Atlantis making a run for it. There's almost certainly more torpedoes inbound. And although I know that Congo might... whoa, the dodges. That Congo might be peppering me with shots. My chances at this range of dodging are fairly reasonable. Now he's smoking, he's probably got a boost going, he's basically diving for cover, and I could try and chase him around the island, but the reload on those torpedoes is quick enough that by the time I get up there, and the Błyskawica is fairly fast. I've actually got a Sierra Mike flag on this to give it a little bit of extra speed as well, but by the time I get around there, I think I would be in serious danger of copping a face full of torpedoes, so instead I decide to break off. Now the Congo has been firing at me, but that's fine. He's had one overpenning hit so far. I think that is actually the first damage I've taken all game. So I'm not too worried about him. He's being a bit standoffish. However, that's a nearly full health Warspite. There's also a Pensacola back there as well. And the Warspite's going to be tricky because, well, those are bigger guns, but also if I get close enough to use torpedoes, I am going to have to be seriously worried about his secondaries, because the Warspite has got a very good suite of secondary guns. However, I also happen to know that the Warspite burns very nicely indeed. So all this has been going on. The Haruna died down in the south, and so it's just me, a Myoko and a Fuso. Unfortunately for me, the Warspite, rather than trying to hit this annoying, fast-moving jerk in his HE spamming destroyer, decides to go for the slightly more sedate targets behind me. However, that's some incoming planes, so yes, this thing's actually got pretty decent AA for a destroyer, but still, it's only a destroyer, so I might shoot down one or two planes, but it's never going to be enough to actually save me. So there's some torpedoes from, as it turns out, the Myoko. I was getting slightly worried, and the planes were going for the Fuso, which obviously was the biggest target right now. So I didn't have to really worry about them. I'm also not trying to stay stealth tier at all. If I want to do damage, then my best bet is to do it with the guns. That really is how you play the Błyskawica. It's sort of a Soviet destroyer in that respect. It's not really. It does have some differences to the Soviet destroyers, but they share that characteristic that their greatest offensive asset is their guns rather than the torpedoes. But the torpedoes aren't bad. I think they're like an 8-kilometer range, so they're still quite usable. So I'm getting some nice ticking fire damage, and that is actually like the damage counter that Wargaming, the St. Petersburg studio, have implemented is actually pretty good. It counts not only the damage done with guns and torpedoes directly, but flooding and fire tick damage as well, all racks up there. So you can actually see the damage racking up, and you can see the hit points draining away. So even if somebody disappears, and if they're on fire, you will still see that you're continuing to do damage. So I'm within just about secondary range of that guy. I'm actually now pulling away from him. There's also another Congo coming from the south, and that's a different Congo than before. He has got quite a lot of health left. This Warspite, in the meantime, I mean, it's not just me shooting at him, but I am going to be the one that does the lion's share of the damage to this guy. And it's largely through the guns. Well, I say that, it's more through the guns than fire damage, but it's actually not that far off being even. But it is still more through the guns. So he's just burning and burning and burning, and I'm just peppering him with all kinds of shells. But I'm aware that, well, Lanitus is still around somewhere. The Pensacola got taken out, which is fine. But that Congo's coming up rapidly from the south as well, and I don't know how much longer the Fuso is going to last. All the while, and I did not notice this at the time, we're getting awfully close to the battle running out entirely. Now, given that we 3 remaining ships are completely, like, we're outnumbered, and, well, in theory we're outnumbered. At the moment it's really, okay, there goes the Fuso, we're definitely outnumbered now. But in theory there's way more of them than there are of us. But that Congo that was up in the north just seemed to just run away. Don't know why. He just backed off and ran away. And so it's just me versus the Warspite and the Congo and the Myoko. I don't think he's got a lot of health left at this point. So this rather looks like now planes coming for me. Yes, take a couple of bomb hits. Possibly there are going to be torpedoes in the water. But this thing is manoeuvrable enough that, in theory, I've got a decent chance of dodging any torps. However, as it turns out, he decides to drop his bombs on me but send the torpedo bombers for the Myoko. Now, I'm down to about half health at this point, but considering that I've just been sailing around in front of a Warspite, firing over and over and over, and this Congo's coming up now to my south, not far away. I'm just going to put some torps out just on the off chance I might get lucky. I was just not expecting to live, and oh, there we go, another couple of hits. I've actually got some engine damage, but fortunately my repair party is about to come back, so that's fine. I also haven't used any smoke at all. I could have smoked up in this one and just tried to fire from the smoke, but then I think I would have had the problem that like, I can't spot for myself through the smoke at that point, because the Myoko is further north than me, and he's actually discovered Lanitus there again. I can't remember if Lanitus actually gets the kill. Now it's at this point RNGesus steps in, because with one torpedo hit I detonated that Congo, and he had about 40-odd thousand health. So now it's just me and this Warspite, and we have 10 seconds to go just about, and I didn't even realise it. At this point I was like, yeah, I'm going to take out the Warspite, and I took out the Congo. I'll take you all on! I'll take you all on! But no, we're about to run out of time, and despite the fact that I did in fact take down that Warspite, the time's just run out. And of course they had more points, so they won. And you know what? Even though the weekend, like the couple of days I played a lot of Warships, it was not good for my win rate. I was playing a lot of Atlanta games. But I still had some fun defeats, and this was actually one of them. I mean, I knew it was going to be an uphill fight when we were coming back to the cap, but it was just like, I don't know, I just enjoyed myself. It was glorious failure. And there you go. I've actually put up the stats for those individual ships. So it was about 35k to 30k fire damage on the Warspite, and then of course that single one torpedo just blowing the Congo out of the water. So considering that was a defeat, it was still an okay game, and I still had fun playing it. It's just I wish some of my other games had been, some of the other defeats that I had been that glorious. There were one or two that came close, but there were some that were just frustrating because the team was not playing very well. And as for why I was playing the Atlanta a lot, by the way, I should probably maybe explain that. Well, not that I have to, it's just I feel like explaining it. The ARP missions, the current one is for another Congo clone and another, what is it, the Haguro, which is basically another Myoko. And this is, actually, I'm going to bring this up because it's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, and it's an oversight by Wargaming that I wish they would correct. But basically I, without really meaning to, got the Haguro captain. And as you are possibly aware, the ARP captains count as like a separate nation, but they don't sit in the same pool of captains as all the other captains, but they still take up your spaces. And the only way you can have them not take up the barracks spaces, or whatever they call it in warships, is to stick them in an actual ship. And so I've been grinding like mad to get the actual ship because the mission finishes in a couple of days. And I was thinking I probably am not going to do this. And then after about 15 Atlanta games, not quite back to back, 15 games in a row, that would be a lot of games. But more or less in a row-ish, interspersed with, I think that was one of them, and I played some Kutuzov games as well. It actually didn't take that long to get from like 0 up to like 2,500, 2,600 hits over the course of 2 days. So the Atlanta's a very handy ship to have around for that. But that does bug me, the fact that you can have these ARP captains, even if you've got no interest in the ARP ships and you're just playing and you fulfill these missions without realising you're doing it, and suddenly you've run out of barrack slots for captains, and it's because these ARP captains are blocking them and you can't dismiss them, even if you've got zero interest in the ARP ships. So I really hope Wargaming fixes that, because it's annoying to have to keep spending actual money on doubloons to increase the spaces, and then those spaces fill up with more captains again. It gets a bit ridiculous. Now there haven't been that many ARP ships, but even so, it's like when it comes to stuff you've paid actual money for, it would be nice if it wasn't being blocked by potentially something you've just got no interest in. So anyway, there was some Błyskawica action for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you aren't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.